The Leafs seem to be getting healthier ahead of American Thanksgiving, but will it be enough to turn things around? You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Thank you for making us your daily listen, and thank you for making the Locked On Network the number one sports podcast network in North America. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. What's going on, Dave? How you feeling on a Tuesday?
Not too bad. You know, a little break in the action here. It seems to be what we kind of needed.
Yeah, I think it not only does it give the fans a bit of time to like collect themselves and calm down from what is seems like the city is burning right now. Well, based on how the Maple Leafs have played here. But it's also really good timing because, like, the Leafs, I mean, they're so badly injured. So a good kind of week for them. I think they only played twice this week, Wednesday and then Saturday, and then so a good chance for them to rest up, get healthy, and hopefully turn the season around because it doesn't feel like there's a lot of time for that to happen. Like you wake up today and the Maple Leafs are in last place in the Eastern Conference, below Buffalo, below the Rangers, below the Penguins. They're in last place here, Dave, and they got to turn things around quick because before you know it, man, it's going to be Christmas, and if they're still sitting in the basement, I mean, I think that some serious questions will have to be asked from management about whether or not this group still has it, and should they continue forward with it.
Well, you look at what's going on in Vancouver right now.
Exactly.
They're willing to listen on veterans not named Quinn Hughes and potentially Phil Hronek.
Which is interesting. Hronek, like Pedersen, 100% available. Brock Besser, he's available. But apparently Philip Hronek unavailable. So, okay.
Yeah. Like for me, this gets to the point where there are players right now. One of the things you could say to motivate some of these guys, hey, if you're not going to pick up the slack, if you're not going to play better, we're going to have no choice but to move a lot of you guys out of here, as well as many as you can move out.
Yes,
and that's the reality of the situation. At least find themselves in. They don't. This is one of the first times where we're not really getting into the mood of talking about this team buying because there's just no way, shape, or form that any more assets should be spent on this team going forward.
No, I mean, like there was an article that came out recently in The Athletic talking about all the first round picks that the Maple Leafs have given up, over the course of the Matthews era and the draft picks in total that this team has given up over the course of the Matthews era, and it's an insane amount of picks, and they've had little to no success. Like as a team, at least there's been some good stories individually. Matthews had a couple of good years, right? Willie's 3 straight 40-goal seasons, and there's some good individual stories, but as a team, there hasn't been a whole lot there for the squad, and now they're decimated. And you even look at it now, and that's kind of the conundrum the Maple Leafs are in. It's like, okay, they can tank, I suppose. Like a lot of people are talking about tank for McKenna. We're at that point, and he's a great prospect, right? One of those franchise-changing prospects. So we think. So he's projected to be. Here's the problem, Dave. The Maple Leafs don't own their first-round pick this year or next year. Now, I get it. It is top 5 protected. But let's say this team decides that they're going to try and bottom out, but they finish 7th last. They won't get that pick. That pick goes over to the Boston Bruins, Dave. the Boston Bruins will own that selection. So that is the part that that I think really grinds people's gears. Is the Maple Leafs. I guess that's one option is to tank, but unless they really bottom out, like they may not even get that selection because of what they've done over the last few years.
Can I make a new rule for this Leafs front office? Under no circumstances are you allowed to trade any first round picks to the Boston Bruins.
I mean, sure.
Flat out. Like, it has not worked out in the Leafs' favor.
Sagan, Dougie Hamilton, and whoever this becomes, I suppose.
Yeah. And you can also add in the Rask for Raycroft, because it's kind of...
Yeah, you're right.
Because technically, I think Rask was a first-round pick that they traded for Raycroft.
Yeah.
So you can kind of add that. Like, it just... You can't say... Well, I mean, unless you're like Calgary.
No, Minton was a second-round pick. Never mind.
Yeah. It's just like... I'm not saying you can never trade with the Bruins, but like... History has shown trading a first-round pick to them doesn't really work well.
No. But just in general, like you look at this year's draft, they don't have a first, they don't have a second, they have 1/3, they don't have a fourth, and then they have a fifth and a sixth. So they have a third, a fifth, and a sixth round pick. So first of all, even if this team wanted to try and add to bolster their lineup to try and get through this via trade, they don't really have anything, right? They don't have a first pick this year. They don't have a first pick next year either. They don't have a second round pick this year. They don't have a third round pick next year. Like, there's barely anything in the cupboard when it comes to draft picks to try and trade their way out of this. And there's no prospects either. Like, you've got Easton Cowan, who you want to try. Like, he's still young, where it's like, even if this team retools, quote unquote, he could be part of that retool. There's no need to move him. Yeah. And then Ben Danford, I guess you also have, who is down in the OHL. Outside of those two prospects, though, like there's no one that really can bring back any type of meaningful return that could really help this team get out of the funk. So it's a squad they're either going to have to tear it down and do what Vancouver's doing and just start sending pieces away to recoup some of those draft picks and just kind of punt on the season and try a retool, or guys from within are just going to have to step up. Like, ultimately, that's what has to happen. Guys just have to step up internally, and they got to get healthy. Obviously, that's a big problem. I mean, you look at the guys who are out of the lineup right now. You're missing your number one player and your number one center in Austin Matthews. You're missing one of your best wingers in Matthew Nyes. You're missing Nicolas Waugh, who's a big-time piece of the puzzle, in all situations, specifically defensively and on the penalty kill. You're missing your best defenseman in Chris Tanev, and you're missing your starting goaltender in Anthony Stolarz. Like, there's a lot of injuries to this team, which, not that we want to sit here and have excuses for why they're in the situation they're in and why they've lost so many games here of late. But at the same time, they weren't playing well and they were healthy either. And so many other guys need to step up outside of just getting healthy. There has to be some internal improvement from many guys within, whether it's the guys who are on the shelf right now, the guys who are on the ice right now, or anyone who they bring in or have to bring up from the AHL. There's got to be a heck of a lot better play coming from a lot of players in this lineup.
Yeah, there has to be. And maybe there also has to be some adjustments from the coaching staff, right? What worked last year doesn't seem to be working this year, right?
Yeah. Like, what though? Like, what would you suggest?
Well, I was listening to Mike Johnson on the
drive.
On Leafs Morning Take with Alberga and Rosehill, and he's like, coaches can change systems. It's not like a very complicated thing. It's just, are coaches willing to make the adjustments, right? Because players have played in so many different systems throughout there that you can tell them to do things differently. Like, if you're struggling to do breakouts, maybe you need to change how your breakouts are being done. If you're struggling with defensive zone coverage or how you're defending the rush, maybe you need to rethink how players are doing that. if your team is getting caught flat-footed all the time. Maybe you need to change your approach and how you do things in the offensive zone so you're not susceptible to those counterattacks. Like,
Right.
I think those are things that Craig Berube's system ultimately has put attention towards. I do think it's more of an execution than it is a system, but at the same time, maybe the system with the players that are there right now isn't working with them.
Sure, but like we're 20 games in. Like how, like at what point are they going to start executing? Right? Like you think 20 games in, you've worked out your kinks, right? You figured it out, but they haven't, right? And they're not. And things seem to be getting worse, not better. And that's where I guess the struggle comes in. And again, granted, they're missing a lot of key pieces, right? So this last stretch of games, has looked a little bit worse. That game against Montreal, like they're extremely shorthanded. I think O'Neill was on Overdrive today and said it looked like they were playing a volunteer firefighters group, the Canadians, the way that they were just snapping the puck around in that game on the weekend. And it looked that way because, tongue in cheek, but they are. Like, that's not the Maple Leafs the way that they're supposed to be, right? Like with no Matthews, no Waugh, no Nyes, no Tanev. Like those are 4 big pieces of the puzzle there. So to an extent, you can somewhat reason with, maybe why they haven't played as well. But the guys who are playing, they're capable of playing a lot better. And we've seen it from a lot of these guys. We've seen Max Domi play a lot better. We've seen William Nylander, have more compete level on a 60-minute basis. Again, outside of OEL and John Tavares, I think everybody, realistically as a whole, could play a whole heck of a lot better moving forward. Yeah. And it leads us perfectly into the next segment, Dave, where you've put your list together. We're looking at 5 guys, a little Tuesday top 5 players that Dave needs to see more from to turn this thing around for the Maple Leafs. So that's coming up next in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NHL is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Network. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score the next goal to third period comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com. Sign up today. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Network.
Today's show is also brought to you by Doer. I'm excited about the new jeans that I got over from Doer. They feel so great, and I'm wearing the performance denim slim straight, and I can't get over how comfortable they are. Doer jeans have 5 times the stretch of traditional denim. They're antibacterial, meaning your jeans stay fresh longer so you can wear them more and wash them less. And they're made with Cool Max that regulate your body temperature and wicks moisture. It keeps you cool and comfortable as temperature changes. Doer jeans feel stretchy without looking stretchy. It's like wearing your favorite pair of synthetic joggers, but it looks like you're dressed to go out on the town. Doer combines classic jean wear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. It's the best of both worlds. Designed to look great and stay comfortable all day, no matter what you're doing, Doer are pioneers of blending technical innovation with everyday clothing. They invented the original performance denim. Simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without having to sacrifice style. Trust me, once you try these, they'll be your go-to. And you can check out Doer in-store here in Toronto. It's at 44 Ossington Avenue. Pick up a pair for yourself or as an amazing holiday gift. Mention our promo code LOCKEDONTORONTO to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at doer.ca/LockedOnToronto for 15% off. That's doer.ca/LockedOnToronto.
Welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes of the Locked On Leafs podcast, free and available wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever. You can also find us on YouTube as well. Brand new episodes each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. All right, Dave. So there's one game left before American Thanksgiving, but this is pretty much considered, the point in the year where you could figure out who's real, who's fake, and you kind of know what your team's all about at this point. We're hoping that's not the case, right? The Maple Leafs are certainly hoping that this is a falsehood to this point in the year, and that they can turn things around. I think yesterday you mentioned that there are some people in the fan base that are hoping this is more like a St. Louis Blues situation where it's just not going well early in the season, where they were last place, deep into, I think actually on New Year's Day that season, they were in last place in the NHL, and then they finished the Stanley Cup champions. Do I have those type of expectations for the Maple Leafs? Not at all. Not anymore. I will say that. But is the season still salvageable, where they can still be a competent playoff team? That I still think that there's enough talent on this team where if they play to potential, they can still get there, Dave. I do think that's the case. And they're only, 5-6 points, depending on how things kind of finish out tonight as we're recording this. I'll check at the standings, but last I saw, they're 5 points out of a playoff spot? Yeah, 5 points out of a playoff spot. They could get back in there very, very easily if they, start rattling off some wins here. But it's going to take buy-in. It's going to take buy-in from some players. And I know we've been saying that for a couple of weeks here now, Dave, where these guys have to dig in, buy in, and play a whole lot better. But you've got a 5-pack where we're going to break it down to the 5 specific individuals who do need to buy in and the 5 guys who need to step up for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The floor is yours. Let's hear it.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of the end of the show yesterday because there was a player that you wanted to give your 2 cents about.
Yeah.
I had already discussed this player last week when I had James on, and that's Max Domi.
Yeah.
You cannot question Max Domi's passion and desire, as somebody who grew up around this team and the nostalgia around the name in this city. But when you are a player who has just 6 points in 22 games and are, making a good chunk of change to be an offensive player, that is simply not good enough. And it has been a struggle ever since since he got traded to Dallas, that Domi has not been able to really produce the goals. Now, points wise, he had 47 points in his first year in Toronto. That's when he got the new deal. And, you sort of justify the versatility that he brings and all that. But the last 2 years, when he is not producing with the points, when he is not bringing the physicality, the feistiness, his lack of impact in the lineup truly, it's so visible. And Craig Berube's called him out on it now, and it hasn't improved.
No, it hasn't, and it's seemingly gotten worse. The level of production that Max Domi has, he has 3 points at 5-on-5. Just 3 points at 5-on-5. It's 0.74 5-on-5 points per 60 this season. That is far worse than it was last year, where it was 1.64. Think about that. That's 0.9 points less per 60 minutes than it was a year ago. And last year we looked at those numbers and we're like, man, those are incredibly low. This is the lowest that they've been in his entire career on a per 60 basis. So this guy's on pace quite literally for a 24-point season. That's what he's on pace for. 24 points this year. Less than that, technically. 23 points is what he's on pace for. And that's simply not good enough. Absolutely not. He's and he's shown that he's a better player than that. He's shown that he can be an electric playmaker. He's got a really good, he can make good passes and he's got some flair in the offensive end. And he does have that jam where he'll stick up for his teammates and show that passion, but we haven't seen enough of it. And we certainly haven't seen any of it in the offensive end. So he's a player that really needs to step it the heck up. you can't pay someone almost $4 million and not have him be a factor in games. You just can't. And
especially when he's not getting defensively, we know that there's shortcomings defensively.
Right. And you can live with that, if he's a 45 to 50 point player.
Exactly.
But when you're a 25 point player, you can't live with it at all. And that's ultimately the problem with him right now as it stands. So, yeah, he certainly is someone who desperately needs to step his game up here for the Maple Leafs in order to, try and turn this thing around, because there's not a lot of depth on this team, and he's expected to play a top 9 role, and he's got to produce like it, and he certainly hasn't to this point.
And look, I get it. He spent some time on the fourth line, and when the injury to Scott Lawton happened, but at the same time, the skill is what's supposed to come through there. Not, I get it, when you don't get the power play opportunities, when you're not getting the prime offensive zone time. Okay, I'm not expecting him to be, thriving points wise, but how low it is in terms of his point out, like how his output has been, it's just not good enough.
Yeah, it's needs to be far, far better moving forward. All right, who else you got on your list? So Domi comes in at I don't know. Do you have is it a ranking, or is it just 5 guys?
I'm just going with 5 players. I'm not going to rank.
So who's the next guy?
Someone I've had a real gripe with all season, and that's Simon Benoit.
Simon, you got such a hate on for this guy. Someone in the comment section yesterday was talking about how you got such a hate for this guy.
Everybody lost their minds over Simon Benoit when he had the Superman punch. Considering how these fans are ready to call out players for their lack of physicality, where has this been? Where has this desire to step up for teammates, to show a little bit of backbone? I haven't seen it from the guy.
Yeah, or the overtime winner against Ottawa. Where's that? Simon Benoit as well.
And he loves to go into the zone, and he likes to go and try to press things offensively. But that's not the team's issue right now. They're able to get offense. It's keeping the puck out of the net is the bigger problem. Yeah. And he's been guilty of that this year. I get it. We shouldn't be expecting him to play as much in the top 4 as we have. But at the same time, guys have to step up. They're not asking him to play 25 minutes a night. Now, there are a couple of times where he's gone over 20 minutes. Part of that was also because of injury as well. But there's nothing about his game this year that has me thinking he's going to turn things around all of a sudden.
No, I'm with you. It's really, I don't know what's gone on with his game, but he can't, when he gets the puck on his stick, first of all, seems like he's giving it away very often. He has not been able to escape very well. His gapping has been terrible. He seems to lose his man in the zone all the time. The physicality has not really been there either this season. So there's a lot to be desired with Simon Benoit's game. It's, he rightfully is on this list of players that the Maple Leafs need to play better moving forward if they're going to turn things around.
And for people who think I'm being hard on him, these are his comments after practice today. I've been too passive. I don't have the knife in my teeth right now. It's an interesting saying. I have to be better for the team. I have to show up. I have to be hard to play against.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Everything we're saying, he knows it.
Yeah, you do. You got to be very difficult to play against. I mean, guys are having a picnic in front of the goaltender right now because he's not really out there battling and fighting and competing. He's not winning puck battles in the corners, right? He's not killing plays the way that he should be. And he's a third pair defenseman, realistically, and that's all he should be. But you still don't want, your team to get caved every time he's out there. And right now he's being thrust into a shutdown role, and he is swimming, absolutely swimming in this situation. Hopefully the Leafs can get Tanev back at some point. There is a injury update that we'll give you guys in a few minutes here, but doesn't sound like Tanev is all that close to returning, unlike a couple other guys. Let's continue on with the list on the other side, Dave. So we'll get to your final three guys, and we'll do that next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, again, tickets can be total headache. Between waiting in queue, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your favorite team. That's where Gametime comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing hockey tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love using Gametime. Couldn't be simpler. You can get great seats in minutes. I love that you can see exactly what you're going to pay. No hidden fees at checkout. Plus, you can see exactly what your view is going to look like before you even buy the tickets with their in-app seat view features. And their Gametime zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section. Gametime picks your seats, and you save big. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes talking nothing but Maple Leafs hockey, delivering your daily dose of Leafs hockey directly to you. Please subscribe if you are enjoying the conversation. If you want to keep up to date, up to the minute with what's going on with the Maple Leafs, subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and find us on social media as well, at Mickey_Canuck, at D_Morassutti, and at Locked On Leafs on both Twitter and Instagram. All right, Dave, you're going through your list of 5 players who need to step up for the Maple Leafs if they want to turn the season around. So far, you've given us a couple of depth players in Max Domi and Simon Benoit. You've got 3 more guys on your list of players who need to step up for the Buds. Who are they?
Well, I'm going to stick to the blue line, and he can't step up right now because he's injured. But Brandon Carlo has to step up.
Yeah.
Because that trade is looking worse and worse. Like, nobody was really talking about the trade last year in the playoffs. Now, it's been a very sore spot for this team.
Yeah, well, we just talked about it. I mean, it's a protected pick, and the Maple Leafs, if they miss the playoffs, but also don't finish in the top 5, that pick goes to Boston, and that's going to be a tough pill to swallow if that's how things turn out. But it may force the Maple Leafs to double down also on the year. And the problem is they need to double down, and they're in this situation because that guy is not playing well. At all. He has been brutal. Every time he's on the ice, seemingly he's getting caved in. You look at his numbers at 5-on-5, no defenseman outside of him and Morgan Riley as a pairing are getting scored on seemingly every other minute, it feels like. And it just isn't looking good. He's given up a lot of chances, a lot of high danger chances as well. Brandon Carlo's got to step his game up big time.
No, he does. And again, it's a similar issue as Simon Benoit. Bring the physicality, be harder to play against, win those puck battles. He's got size. It's not like the Leafs are asking him to do more than he should be capable of doing, right? He's supposed to be that big shutdown second pairing defenseman, right? And so he's got to get back to a little bit of that. Now, maybe the time off will give him a chance to kind of refocus and reset. Maybe there was, the injury kind of came out of nowhere too, and it made me wonder if he was dealing with something like this for a bit, similar to Matthew Nyes, where he was dealing with it and it just at a point where you just couldn't have him continue playing anymore like that. So maybe that's part of it. But again, injuries can't, if you're injured and you're not able to play, that's something you should not be playing through. So he's a player that when he comes back, it's got to be an instant jolt of improvement on that blue line when he comes back.
So he leads all blue liners with 11.74 high danger chances against per 60. So all blue liners. The next, obviously, Morgan Riley's his partner is like right behind him at 11.33, and then your boy Simon Benoit checks in at 11.06, and then McCabe, Tanev quite a ways below that. So yeah, Troy Stetcher actually has not allowed a lot. High danger chance per 60, just 1.38. Now he's only played a couple games here with the Maple Leafs, but has actually been very, very solid. All things considered in the slight time that he's been out there. But yes, that is a guy who definitely needs to step up. Who's next on your list, Dave?
I'm gonna again stay with the blue line.
And hate the blue line.
I mean, it's been the worst part of the team this year, right? Like there has just not been a lot of positives. And look, he's on pace for I think over 60 points this year, which would be the first in a little while for him.
Yeah.
Morgan Riley, man, he has 17 points in 21 games, but once again, he's on pace for another minus season.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where you got injuries, you got guys that are down. It's fine. I understand you're an offensive guy. We're not expecting you to be the hulking shutdown guy. But when your team is struggling with the breakouts, when your team is struggling to get the puck out of the zone, that should be your forte. And it has not been his forte. And he's looked slow at times. He's looked out of position at times, not really doing much in the defensive zone. Like, these are issues that have been coming up for a bit. And I know people have been beating that drum for a while. But it gets magnified when your GM calls you out before the year starts. And now you're on trade lists. And this is the first time, I think last year may have been the first time we've heard Morgan Riley's name as a trade list by not
who would want this guy? That's what I mean. Who would call Brad Treliving and be like, hey, we want Morgan Riley? The way this guy's playing right now, who actually is making that phone call?
I have no idea.
Like, Dave, you want to hear a stat that might not be all that surprising, but I got a stat for you here. Morgan Riley of the Toronto Maple Leafs, supposed to be, a top pair defenseman. At least that's what he's been billed as over the course of his tenure here in Toronto. No player in the National Hockey League this year has been on the ice for more goals against at 5-on-5 than Morgan Riley. He's been on the ice for 26 goals against at 5-on-5 this season, more than anyone else in the NHL. Stands alone, top of the mountain. Not great.
Yeah, no. That was another Kyle Dubas gift right there where
8 more years. Remember that? 8 more years of Morgan Riley. It was like, the decline has already started. It's like, I don't know. The upsetting part is like, it's almost like the chicken or the egg, right? Like, why is Brandon Carlo struggling because Riley isn't himself, or is Riley struggling because Brandon Carlo isn't himself? And the fact that these two are still trying to make this pairing work, like maybe that's like I would separate these guys for a decent amount of time. Like, I think we've gotten to that point where it's just not working. Last year seemed to be a positive pairing. At least it was in the playoffs and late in the season. This year, it's been awful. Absolutely awful. They seemingly together are fishing pucks out of the back of the net more than any other pairing in hockey. So for me, I don't want to see those two together much anymore. And when Carlo, if he can play Wednesday or whenever he gets back, try him somewhere else. Like, if that means, flipping OEL back over to the right side and having Riley OEL, like maybe that's where you go. But Riley-Carlo has been a disaster. So it's no wonder that both of them find themselves on this list.
Yeah, no, it just like I've defended Morgan Riley in the past because he's also been one of the few that have had a kind of a logical approach to the fact that this team has come up short too many times. But now it's like you're talking the talk, you got to now walk the walk. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, yeah, one more player. Oh, by the way, Morgan Riley on the ice for the most high danger goals against as well. So you have 16 high danger goals against of those. What did I say? 26? Yeah, 16 of the 26 have been high danger goals against as well. So they're giving up a lot of quality chances, and not getting the saves either. I might add, he's probably got a terrible save percentage. Actually, yeah, on a save percentage, 866, which there should be some regression there, you would think, and the goaltending should get better and should improve those numbers, but still. Okay, got one more guy, one more of the top 5 players or 5 players who need to step up to turn things around here for the Maple Leafs. Who's the last guy on your list?
Well, he's also not playing right now, but he will hopefully be close to returning soon, and that's Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
You need your superstar player to be your superstar player. I get it. Last year he had the injuries. This year, now everyone's wondering. I had a long group chat chain talking about, are the injuries making it to the point that he's not able to be the player he was before? And that's a scary thought, right? But it's a reality too, because we haven't seen the same Austin Matthews from a couple years ago, right before the injury he had last year that had forced him to go to Germany to get looked at. Like, he just doesn't have that step. Like, again, they've won the majority of the minutes that he has played, so he's not been a liability defensively, but he hasn't been the game changer offensively that we've expected and that we have seen for how many years?
Yes. Yeah. No, you're completely right. This team's going nowhere. Nowhere if this guy can't turn it around. And look, that's not a secret. You know, when they let Mitch Marner walk out the door, it was with the expectation that Austin Matthews could be healthy and would have a far better season than last year. When they said, how are they going to replace those goals and those minutes and those points from Mitch Marner? It's like, well, you should get a better season from Matthews, right? Like, that'll take a good chunk of it. If he's healthy, you know, he should be able to score upwards of 55 to 60 goals. Well, the problem is he's not healthy. And he's not scoring. He's not playing. That's the first problem. But he's also not scoring at that elite rate either. And now all of a sudden, you know, we talked about him back when he was on that 69 or that 70 goal chase, talked about him maybe as the greatest goal scorer in the game. And, you know, could he potentially, once Ovi breaks the record, could that be short-lived? Maybe Matthews is right behind him. I don't believe that anymore. I truly don't believe that anymore. Because I don't think Matthews is that same player he was 2 years ago. I also think that the injuries are catching up to him and he's not capable of playing at that level. And that's a scary thought if you're a Maple Leafs fan. A scary, scary thought, and maybe even scarier thought if you're Brad Treliving or if you are Austin Matthews himself, realizing that this team is in big trouble if that guy can't play at an MVP level, which is what's needed, which is how this team is built. They need that guy to be that type of player. And if he's incapable of doing so, this team's going nowhere quick. And that is a big problem for this team.
It is. It's a massive problem. And look, him, Nyes, and Waugh, they skated again today. They apparently are close, but Berube didn't want to make the determination until closer to Wednesday, which is the Craig Berube way. Like, they need him back. Like, it's becoming more and more evident that they need him back. And it's, you know, we know it's a lower body injury. We don't know how that's going to maybe impact what other things he's got going on right now. But yeah, if this Leafs team wants any hope of being in the playoffs, it all starts with your captain, number 34.
100%. And talk about the creation. Also, a couple stats for you in terms of individual scoring chances and individual high danger chances. They are the lowest they've been in 5 years, the lowest they've been since pre-COVID. You have to go back before COVID to get numbers like that. So just goes to show you how down of a season he's really having. Like, they're worse than they were last year. And last year we were like, it's a down season. It's an injury-riddled season. Well, at least last year he was averaging 5.73 individual high danger chances per 60 minutes. He's averaging a full chance less from last year, which is 2 chances less from 2 years ago when he was that MVP type of player. So that's a problem.
How much does that correlate to a change in how he's being played and used under Craig Berube as well?
I'm sure that has, a lot to do with it as well, right? Under Sheldon Keefe, he was put out more offensively, offensive situations where he was put in position to succeed and to create offense, and put in position now where he's got to be a bit more of a defensive role or play more of a 200-foot game, which, not that Keefe didn't want him playing that as well, but he's got to shoulder that load a little more now under Berube. And it's just a different style. It's a different game. And maybe he's not able to adapt that way, or he's not adapting to it as well as he'd hoped to. I don't really know, but the last 2 years, he has not been himself. Again, is that injury? Is it system? What is it? I don't know. Only he could really tell you, I suppose. But if he doesn't get it going, again, team's going nowhere quick. So if you're the Maple Leafs or you're a Leaf fan, boy, you hope that this guy gets healthy, stays healthy, and gets back to being, the 3-time Rocket-winning MVP candidate that he had shown the ability to be before. Mm-hmm. So if that guy doesn't come back, team's not going anywhere, man. They're not going anywhere.
No.
And then what do you do with the group, right? You don't have picks. You don't have prospects. You start fire sailing? Well, maybe. But again, you don't have your first or second round pick this year. So what good is that? You don't have your first round pick next year either. So what good is the fire sale? The Leafs are in a terrible situation. A terrible situation, no matter way you slice it. So as much as you want to talk about, and not you, but Leafs Nation continues to talk about tanking, talking about how this team is done. They should look towards, Gavin McKenna, tank for McKenna. Easier said than done. And I don't think that that's something that they could do, truthfully. They got to get it done from within. And the players that we just spent the last 25 minutes talking about, those are the guys who are going to have to get it done for them. Those are the guys who are going to have to dig out from quite literally the bottom of the Eastern Conference and put themselves back into the playoffs. Luckily, they're only 5 points out. It's not that difficult to dig yourself out of a 5-point hole. But if they go on a losing skid here on this road trip, and all of a sudden they go from 5 to 10 points out because they go over on this road trip, oh boy, now it's difficult. Now we're getting near Christmas, and you're 10 points out. Now that's when the hard conversations really start to happen, and when Berube and maybe even Tree Living starts to get a little worried about what's going on here. So we're a little bit a ways from that, but it is not too far off, I will say. Not too far off, Dave.
No, we're not that far off from it, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. So the injury update, I guess you kind of touched on it. Matthews, Nyes, and Waugh could return Wednesday against Columbus. There'll be game time decisions. Still no timeline for Chris Tanev or Anthony Stolarz, however. I guess Brandon Carlo is going to be a game time decision as well.
It doesn't look like it. Apparently,
he's not playing.
No, he might not. He hasn't really been skating, so
okay. So no Brandon Carlo either. No. So expect. It's gonna be. They're just dropping like flies here. At least they're getting some guys back, hopefully by Wednesday. But they continue to lose players as well, and that's now 2 shut down right shot defensemen. The only 2 really shut down right shot defensemen you have. Yeah. Now you got Troy Stetcher. All right, good luck. Troy Stetcher, McCabe's flipped to the other side, I guess. OEL flipped over to the other side, and away we go. And maybe now Villanova could get called up and get that opportunity, I suppose. Maybe that's the next logical solution there. All right, Dave. I think that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. Good list. I'd like to thank everyone for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.